Welcome back to Forgotten Hollywood. I know it's been a while, but there's a very good reason for that. If you watch some of my older videos, you know that a tornado actually hit our town last year, and it caused some damage to the house that the insurance didn't want to cover, so we were repairing what they would cover, and part that they didn't cover included a piece of metal roofing over an addition to the house, which blew off, and it hit the spout where the power comes into our house and caused a power surge. Now, most of the house was unaffected and okay, but the space where I record, this room, lost all of its outlets. So I could not plug in my computer, I could not plug in any lights, I could not plug in anything. Result was that I couldn't really record because I can't bring my nice recording stuff out where the kids can get it, and I didn't have power in the place where I was, so I had to come up with some creative solutions, and hopefully we've got everything worked out and it will be okay. I wanted to address the sequel coming out, Inside Out 2, and frankly why I'm not going to see it, and my kids are not going to see it, and we're not going to buy it or anything like that. And it's the same reason why I refused to see Kung Fu Panda 4, even though my son loves Kung Fu Panda. But when I read about Kung Fu Panda 4, I turned to my husband and I said, Nick isn't going to know this movie is real. So here's why I decided to skip both of these movies this year. They retconned the original in order to make the new story work. If you have to rewrite the original in order to make the sequel work, it's not a very good sequel. In the original Inside Out, there were 5 emotions: joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. Those were the emotions in Riley's head. Then you go into the mom's head, and you see joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. Then you go into the dad's head, and you see joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. It's the same emotions. Everyone has the same emotions. They had different ways of working together and stuff like that. But the same core emotions were in everyone. Now you get to Inside Out 2, and they're like, oh, there's new emotions, because now she's a teenager. And the new emotions are anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and I can't even pronounce it, but it comes across to me as boredom. I watched the preview and they say we're more complex emotions. And I'm like, well, yes, because anxiety is fear. Maybe fear tied to anger if you don't really understand what you're upset at. But anxiety is fear. It's amped up fear, but it's fear. Embarrassment is a combination of fear and sadness. And I'm like, these aren't really new emotions. These are just the old emotions done slightly differently. But what really got to me is when anxiety tells the original 5, Riley needs more complex emotions. She doesn't need you anymore. And I'm like, oh, okay. So you're telling me that teenagers do not feel joy. They do not feel sadness. They do not feel anger. Since like 3 of the emotions cover fear, so you could say that she still has that, but I'm sitting here, there's no replacement for joy. There's no more complex joy. There's no more complex sadness. There's no more complex anger. And are you telling me that teenagers don't experience these things? Oh, and even better, you do not see any of these emotions in the parents, which means parents never experience anxiety? Yeah, sure. And there's also another one that's like nostalgia, except that was covered in the first movie when the mom's emotions were replaying memories. You know, that's nostalgia. Nostalgia is not necessarily emotion. It is a feeling. But a feeling does not mean emotion. I can feel pain. Pain is not an emotion. That's why I don't want to see it, because they had to change the first movie says that there are these base 5 emotions. Everything comes from these base 5 emotions. Everything that they experience through their entire lives, as seen in the parents' minds, come from these base 5 emotions. But they're like, no, teenagers have other emotions. No, they don't. Teenagers' brains are developing in such a way that they might have trouble regulating their emotions the same way a toddler does when they are transitioning from babyhood into childhood. Teenagers are transitioning from adolescence into adulthood, and so the changes will cause some problems with the way that they can regulate emotions, but it's the same emotions. They just have to figure out how to deal with them. Nothing new, it's just there. And I didn't like that they had to introduce new emotions. I didn't like that they imply you don't need old emotions when you have the new emotions, and it's just nothing about the movie made me want to see it. Nothing. And with Kung Fu Panda 4, it's a similar thing. Because in the first movie, it is this huge deal that the Dragon Warrior is going to be chosen. It has been 1,000 years since the last Dragon Warrior, and they're going to select the new one because it is time, because a crisis has arisen, and they need someone to rise up and save them. And then we get to Kung Fu Panda 4, and what I've read says that Po is retiring as the Dragon Warrior and moving on to a new position, so he has to find his replacement. We have gone from Mystic Warrior who comes around once every 1,000 years to, well, we need a new manager at Walmart. You're getting promoted, and here's your replacement. You're going to train them on how to be the new manager. No. The Dragon Warrior is not a job. You just pass to the next person. If that was the case, it wouldn't have been a big deal to choose the Dragon Warrior in the beginning. Po wouldn't have taken 3 movies to come into full power as the Dragon Warrior. But he's just gonna train up someone, and they're gonna be the Dragon Warrior, and he's gonna do something else. For the one sequel I'm actually looking forward to, that I do want to see, that my kids will probably see, this is Despicable Me 4. So the difference with Despicable Me 4 is that it didn't have to retcon anything. It didn't have to change anything. It laid a foundation with the first movie, introduced the characters, set the setting. Here it is. And the second movie, it built off of that in a natural progression to what the character of Gru would be doing. You know, in the first movie, he adopted 3 girls as a supervillain. Well, in the second movie, he's going, well, I don't want to be a supervillain anymore because I have these daughters I have to take care of. I can't afford to go to jail. And he ends up becoming an agent to take down supervillains like he used to be. And falls in love, gets married. Move into the third movie. Now he is a well-established agent. His partner is his wife, and he's doing very well. Well-ish under the administration of the organization, but new administration comes in, and he has to prove himself to her. And then that's, conflict in the third movie. And then the fourth movie comes. Because of his work in this agency, there's a threat against his family, and he has to move them to safety, and he has to find this threat, and the threat is voiced by Will Ferrell. So I'm really looking forward to this and how they continue to progress Gru's character, because that is what is really great about the Despicable Me movies, is you watch the character growth of Gru, you watch the interactions that he has with the other people, how he adapts to new situations while still maintaining the core of who he is. And that's what I like about it. That's why I want to see this new one. But, compare it to the other 2 sequels that came out with Kung Fu Panda 4 and Inside Out 2, and they had to change everything in order to make it work. And it's like they had this idea of, what if there was a new Dragon Warrior? Oh, what if there were new emotions? Well, it doesn't really fit with what was already established, but they didn't care. They just threw out what was established and made their own thing like they do with everything. In summary, that's why I am not going to see Inside Out 2 this weekend or any weekend. That's why I never bothered with Kung Fu Panda 4. And that's why I am very much looking forward to the new Despicable Me. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts on these sequels? Are there any you were looking forward to? Or have you washed your hands of all of modern Hollywood? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell for notifications, and I will catch up with you next time.